Confession. I'm done with hustle culture and I know you are too. Let's create a business that sustains your lifestyle, bank account, and the planet. Together, we'll achieve your version of success and build a business that loves you back. This is Confessions of a Conscious CEO. So I'm not sure if I'm going to post this because I want my channel to be more positive, but I have been struggling mentally, if I'm being honest. There's been a lot going on. I think instead of being negative about it, I'd rather just talk about it so that maybe some of you are also struggling right now feel less alone. I find often online people only talk about the good things that happen or the highlight reels, and people also start at chapter 0, be like, oh, I'm doing this thing. And then all of a sudden they're at chapter 100 and they've either sold their company or they've done something really cool or whatever it is and miss out on the in-between. And I am very much in the in-between right now. I'm struggling a little bit right now. And I was really inspired because one of my favorite YouTubers that I watch is Allegra Shaw. She's an amazing Toronto-based Canadian YouTuber. And she also has a slow fashion brand called Uncle Studios. And she talked about how it's been really, really tough lately running Uncle Studios. And she also talked about the fact that being an entrepreneur, you kind of have to be like a little bit insane or crazy to do it because it's so freaking hard. And I really resonated with that. But she also mentioned how she would like never want to do any other job. And this is her favorite job. And I also resonate with that. So I want to talk a little bit about what's been going on and take you a little bit behind the scenes. So in this vlog, I was planning to start it tomorrow because I have a really exciting day tomorrow. I'm meeting up with one of my new friends that I've made in London. And she has quit her corporate job to become a makeup artist in London. And I'm going to help her with her business and help her set it up. And I'm going to bring you guys along as well so you can be a fly on a wall on one of my consulting sessions. I thought it would be really fun. So anyways, I thought I would start tomorrow, but I'm feeling this way today. And I thought it was a really good opportunity to really show the true behind the scenes. A little bit of context. I am not doing well mentally because there's just a lot going on. I'm really stressed and overwhelmed, and the reason is because I have too much on my plate. And whenever I have too much on my plate, or whenever my clients have too much on their plates, I'm always like, okay, let's see what we can delegate, delete, or delay. And I have already delegated, deleted, and delayed everything I could. And there's just still so much shit on my plate. On the business side of things, I've had the Sustain Your Success series of courses that I've created and launched. That was a really big lift. I'm really proud about the fact that I was able to do that without burning out. However, since expanding my business last year to not only just working with sustainable fashion founders, but more conscious entrepreneurs generally that want to sustainably grow their business, I'm finding that it's been a slower drip to be able to work with those types of people. It's fine because with my past business, I built it for over 6 years. So it makes sense that most of the people that inquire to work with me want to do because like I've built up 6+ years of credibility and expertise in the space. So I get it. That transition phase is still hard. I know it takes time and I just have to be patient, but it still sucks going through it. So with the business, things are going basically a little slower than I had anticipated, and that's completely fine. It's also going slower. I had anticipated that because I am not prescribing to clickbaity content, and that is the stuff that does well on the algorithms, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to put out videos that are like how to grow on Instagram or like 10 steps to make more sales now. That is just not the vibe here. I'm about sustainable growth and sustainable business and slow growth, but it's not clickbaity. You know what I mean? It's not something that people immediately are like, oh yes, I want to watch that or whatever. I'm trying to balance that. And so there's a lot of stuff going on the business side of things. Of course, I'm working with clients and I love that. That's still the favorite part of my job. But yeah, it's just like the sustain your sales launch and like the marketing of it. And then the content, trying to figure it out. I always tell my clients, and I'm going to tell my friend Yulin tomorrow this as well, the numbers don't really matter and you shouldn't look at how many followers and subscribers you have. You should actually just look at like the content you're putting out, the engagement you're getting back, all that stuff. But it's still hard. I know what I need to do and know the advice, but sometimes it's just hard doing it. And so there's the business stuff. And then on the personal side of things, there's so much going on. There's 3 main things, and I'm comfortable sharing 2 of them, and there's one that I'm still processing, so I feel like I will share when I'm more ready, and I've also had a better view of how I can share in a way that's more helpful to people. That sounds really ominous. Nothing bad has happened. I want to be thoughtful about how I communicate it because this thing that is happening is also something I feel like people don't talk publicly about, and I think I can really help a lot of people, so I just want to be thoughtful about how I message it. So there's this first thing that sounds kind of scary and ominous, but I promise you it's not. It's fine. But I just need to like process it and figure out how I want to talk about it. And then the other two things are the fact that, first of all, my wedding is coming up next year and we are in the thick of planning. And we realized that our wedding is in the middle of when the FIFA World Cup is in Vancouver. Originally, we were like, that's great. There's going to be another activity beyond just our wedding for people to attend and enjoy. But the drawback to that is that the hotel rooms are so freaking expensive. It's like what happened with the Taylor Swift Eras tour, but now for our wedding. And so given that 75% of our guests are out of town, we have been struggling to find a hotel block for our guests. And yeah, that's just been such a nightmare. We're trying to figure that out right now and figure out if we need to move the date. Also, if we move the date, I'm like, what's the point of getting married at this venue? Because we chose this specific venue because of the view, and there's a bunch of roses in this rose garden, and obviously the roses aren't in bloom all the time. So anyways, I'm trying not to spiral about that. I'm sure we'll figure it out. But yeah, it's not great. So if you're planning a wedding, I would recommend choosing a date that, of course, works for everyone, but also there is a huge event in town if you have a lot of out-of-town guests. The second personal thing is the fact that we are moving back to Canada. So our living abroad in London or living abroad in Europe diaries are coming to an end. We're going to be moving back sometime in the fall. I'm equal parts excited, but also equal parts really sad because we love our life here in London. We built such an amazing community. We have such an amazing group of friends and a support system. We also really like our lifestyle here. We don't have a car. We walk everywhere, which I love. It's just so nice. We've been here now for 3 years, which is crazy to say. Time's really blown by, but I think we're ready to settle down and start anew. And planning a wedding away from the city you're getting married in is so difficult. So I'm excited to be back in Canada. But anyways, all this to say, the move also, though, there's a lot of logistical things we need to figure out. And also on the side of that, we want to maximize our time in London and be able to do all the things we want to do. All this to say, there's just like a lot. It's natural I feel overwhelmed and stressed. I think dealing with all of this and understanding that I am grateful, obviously, that I'm able to do what I love, build a career off of what I'm good at and helping people. Also so grateful to be marrying the love of my life. So grateful to have lived in London and have this experience and now be able to go home and be back with friends and family as well. It's just a lot of stuff happening at once. And so it's just overwhelming. And I've already, like I mentioned, like delegated, deleted, and delayed as much as I could. And I think now it's just about getting stuff done. And also hoping that I take care of myself throughout it. If I'm being honest, I feel like the taking care of myself piece has really been put on the back burner. I just really need to up the self-care again. I'm noticing I am teetering burnout and I need to really prioritize myself. I need to make sure I'm sleeping enough. I also need to get back on meditating. We were at a friend's place this weekend and she walked us through this like amazing 25-minute meditation. And I cannot tell you the last time I meditated for 25 minutes after. I felt so rejuvenated and so relaxed. So I really want to get back into meditating. And I used to say like, oh, if you can't even set aside like 10 or even 5 minutes a day to meditate and make time for yourself, you don't have a life. And so I currently do not have a life, but I am about to get one. So we're going to start meditating again and just taking care of myself. After I record this, I'm going to have a self-care night. I'm going to read on my Kindle, maybe take a bath, do all those things. And then tomorrow, hopefully, I'll be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed for my day with Yulin, and I will bring you along. So the next day, I met up with my friend Yulin, who used to work in corporate and then moved to London from New Zealand. When she moved, she wanted to try something different. Instead of finding a corporate job in London, she decided to pursue the dream of being a freelance makeup artist. She's been going at this now for a few months, and I wanted to sit down to help flesh out her business strategy because she is super talented and creative, but just needed to sit down and put some structure and strategy around her business. We filmed in this gorgeous space, but the sound is so bad. That tiny microphone you can see was absolute rubbish at filtering out background noise. And I did everything I could to remove the background noise, but it's so awful. Instead of subjecting you to 45 minutes of listening to that, I am instead going to voice over this. I was super bummed about it, but I actually think this will be better because I can be succinct and to the point. I'm going to flash up diagrams and explanations over the video as well, because I was explaining things to her and drawing things on her iPad and you can't see it. I hope this will be helpful for you. I have gathered everything I have learned through my own personal trials and tribulations over the past half a decade of building a business, as well as working with sustainable founders in order to figure out how to sustainably build an amazing foundation for your business. In my session with Yulin, we did a very comprehensive first session, and I tried to stuff as much as I could without overwhelming her. To start with, I just level setted with her and said that you need to do this sustainably. Anyone that's just starting out, it's so easy to be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and be like, I'm just gonna work. I'm so excited. But I wish someone had sat me down and just been like, okay, it's great you're excited, but we do need to be very strategic and intentional, because while you feel like you might have so much energy and fire under your butt to do things, that is not going to be something that's everlasting, and it may fizzle out and burn out if you do burn out. With all my recommendations for her, I put it through this lens of sustainability and build a roadmap where it was like, okay, what's your capacity now? What are your goals? And then how can we realistically sort this out so you can achieve it? The first thing we talked about is her products. Whatever you're selling is the basis and the foundation of your business, because it is what makes you money, and it is what is going to essentially keep your business alive and in business. You need to nail your product, your service, and your offer before you do anything else. I was trying to work her product suite out with her, and a really great way you can think about this is through something that's called a value ladder. I like to think of the value ladder as having 4 rungs, but people may have different variations of it. But in my experience, I find the 4-rung value ladder to be the best. It essentially depicts your average customer's journey with your business. They may not follow this journey exactly, but it is really helpful to visualize it and see how your customer can grow with you and with your brand. With this value ladder, you can see on the very left, it starts out with free items. This could be your free content, it could be a freebie you give away, whatever that looks like, but it's nice for your potential customer or your prospect to interact with your brand for free first, so that they are able to get a taste of what you're all about and what it may look like to actually work with you or buy from you. The next rung is your low ticket offers. Typically, this is something that is lower in price point. Maybe it's a $9 Notion template. Maybe it is a scrunchie. It's just something that's cheap and cheerful. And yes, someone may have to think about whether or not they want to buy it, but they don't need to and haw over it for ages and ages. After the low ticket offer is a medium ticket offer. This is something that's a medium price point. It might be something that you offer and it's a staple and people come to you. If you're starting a sustainable fashion brand, maybe this is your basic white tee. These are some of your basic pieces. Finally, you have what is called your high ticket offer. This is something that is the highest price point in your entire product suite. It is what your VIP customers will be buying, and the high ticket offer is likely going to be what is going to sustain the majority of your income as you grow and scale and as you build a bigger community. Maybe your low ticket offer and medium ticket offers, if you have enough volume, can eclipse your high ticket offer. Typically, in my experience with smaller businesses just starting out, they do make majority of their income from high ticket offers because the size of your community just isn't big enough yet to be able to have the volume for your low and medium ticket offers to eclipse your high ticket offers. And so again, this value ladder depicts a average / traditional prospect or potential customer's journey with your business. They will likely find out about you first, check out some of your free stuff, check out some of your content, and then they will probably invest in something that's lower stakes, like a template or something that's easy. And then maybe they'll upsell and move on to your medium ticket and then upsell into your high ticket. There's been instances where I've had people join my community, do my free stuff, and then immediately go to high ticket. And it's completely fine if your ideal customer bounces around. That's to be expected. But in the long run, you do want to have more than one thing you're selling. And that's why it's important to be strategic about your product suite from the get-go, so that you can have in the forefront of your mind, like, okay, I can start with this high ticket item, and then I then know I can create something that's medium ticket that I can downsell. Or if I have a low ticket item, I then want to have something that I can upsell to continue to work and support my clients and my customers. You do want to think about how everything's going to tie together and work together in order to help and support your ideal customer, but also help and support your sales and your revenue. So in Yulin's case, as a makeup artist, her high ticket offer was going to be bridal makeup. She wants to work with brides and do their makeup on their wedding day, and that's her big signature high ticket offer. And then I was telling her for her medium ticket offer, she could potentially also work with fashion brands or other types of brands that are doing photo shoots and need to hire a makeup artist for that. And then for low ticket offer, it could look like master classes where she teaches people how to put their makeup on. Because she's just starting out, the expectation is not for her to build out her entire product suite or value ladder overnight, because that is going to be very overwhelming and it's not going to be done well. Instead, we're going to tackle it in strategic pieces and in a strategic order. So for people just starting out, and if you're just starting out watching this or listening to this, I would recommend you start with both ends of the value ladder. I want you to start with the free stuff and then also the high ticket offer stuff. The reason for that is because the free items is going to build and nurture your community. And without having a solid community that is engaged and nurtured, you are not going to make sales, and there's just not a point. So you need to start with the free stuff, get a really solid understanding of how you can help them and what they're looking for. And then on the flip side, the reason why I recommend you start with high ticket offer is because if you're just starting out, you likely don't have a huge community yet. You likely have some income goals you want to hit, and you're thinking, okay, but I'm starting from maybe 100 followers or 500 followers, and I'm not really sure how I'm going to hit my income goals and sustain my lifestyle. The way you do that is by starting with high ticket offers, because if you're selling something at $1,000, let's say it's one-on-one consulting services, then you only need 10 clients in order to make 10K. Whereas if you started with a $10 Notion template and you wanted to make $10,000, then you would need 1,000 people to buy your $10 Notion template. If your community size is small and there's only 100 people or 500 people in there, the math's just not mathing. If your community is small, it's much more likely that you can get 10 people to buy from you with your community size of 100 or 500 and still hit that income goal that you have. It's not to say that it's impossible, but you do just want to be strategic here. Once your high ticket offer is solidified, you are more comfortable with it, and everything's working well, then you can build out the other parts of your product suite. But you do want to focus on the free and the high ticket offer for now. After you have thought through your product suite or your value ladder, the next couple questions people tend to have are, okay, how do I price my products, especially as I'm just starting out? And how do I get my first customers as I'm also just starting out as well? So I will move into that now. For Yulin, she wants to build out her bridal makeup services and get clientele. And I recommended, because she's new to this industry, she do beta tests. That's exactly what I did when I was first starting out with my sustainable fashion consultancy, Recloseted. With a beta test, the purpose of it is for you to test out your product or your service in a safe environment, because the first time you offer a product or service, there's going to be hiccups. There's things that are going to go wrong, and that's fine. That's inevitable. But it's important for you to be able to work out those kinks in a safe environment and also get feedback from real life customers so that you can improve and have the best possible product. Also, there's kind of a chicken and an egg scenario where someone may want to work with you, but then they're also like, I want to see results or testimonials or a case study of someone you've worked with before. But if the first person is hesitant to work with you because you don't have any and you don't have any results to show for it, but you're like, I just need someone to take a chance on me, this is where the beta test comes into play. If you're just starting out and you're trying to get your first few clients and you're breaking into a new industry and you don't have a lot of, let's say, credibility to back yourself quite yet because you just don't have that client experience or you just don't have that actual customer experience, then for the beta test, you will likely need to do it for free. And I'm not saying that you have to do it for free forever, but just do maybe 3 to 5 beta clients, test the product or the service out with them in a friendly environment, because if they're not paying any money, if there are hiccups, obviously they're going to be understanding and they're going to go into this knowing it's a beta test. You also want your beta testers to understand that the expectation is that they're going to give you feedback to help you improve this product and service so that when you do offer it to paying customers, it goes off smoothly. But not only that, the expectation is that they're going to help give you a testimonial and they are going to be able to be a case study for you. With the testimonial, I recommend you ask them to do a video testimonial. You could get them to film it horizontally, so landscape or YouTube style, and then you can crop it for vertical for like Reels or TikTok. From there too, you can just take the transcript and turn that into a quote. On the flip side, if you have been in business for a while though, and you have built up a clientele, and you are simply just trying to launch a new product or a new service, I still would recommend you do a beta test. However, you can probably charge for it. I wouldn't charge full price. I would do like 50% off. It just really depends on what you're comfortable with and what price point your ideal customers would be comfortable signing up at. For pricing moving forward, I told her that for service providers especially, this can be difficult because for physical product businesses, it's kind of obvious what your costs are. If you're creating a t-shirt, you need to take into account the materials, the manufacturing, the threads, the design costs, like all that stuff. But if you're offering makeup services, it might be a little bit blurrier. For Yulin, her costs would be the actual makeup product she's using, and then I told her to create an hourly rate for herself. It's okay if she's not able to pay herself right now, but at least factor it in. If you're just starting out, you can set out a lower hourly rate for yourself. I don't know, anything between $25 to $30 an hour, let's say. As you get more established, you can increase that hourly rate, but it's a mistake for service providers to not take into account their own time. Having your time included allows you to figure out how much you should be pricing things at. And so with getting your first few customers, start with your beta clients, and then you'll have a portfolio. If you do a good job with your beta clients, they will refer you to other people in their network, and there will be a snowball effect there as you get client inquiries from content and other things in your sales funnel that I will be talking about shortly. You will also have these amazing case studies and this portfolio to show them. That is how you get started, and that's how you should be thinking about your products and the structure and the strategy behind how you're going to build this business. The next step, once you have your products and an idea of your product suite, is to figure out how you're going to sell and how you're going to make money from it. I have talked about it on this channel before, and I've also talked about it on the Confessions of a Conscious CEO podcast, but there's never enough times to talk about it. So there's the traditional sales funnel, the upside down triangle, which indicates how many people are in your funnel. And at every single point before they buy, there's fewer and fewer people because you and your business, you and your products are not going to be for everyone. And that is okay. People will self-select out, and that's good because you only want to be selling to people that your product and service is meant for. Instead of following the traditional sales funnel, I like to think of it as a sustainable sales system that is working in the background and able to help you bring in leads, help you nurture them, which will in turn also help with your conversion rates and help you make sales a lot more easier. If you don't have this running smoothly in the background and you're not strategic and intentional about how you set this up, getting sales is going to be an uphill battle, and it is also going to burn you out. Trust me on this. With my sustainable fashion consultancy, I wasn't super strategic in the beginning with my sales funnel. I did a lot of the stuff manually, and I didn't have a lot of things automated running in the background to help me. Since expanding my business, I now have a lot of these automations in the background helping me, and that's really helped me be able to have a life first approach to entrepreneurship and revolve my business around my life and not the other way around. But all this to say, this is something that's really important, so I want to take some time to walk you through it. The first part is traffic. This is how your ideal customer finds out about you. If you're not getting enough traffic to your business, then you're not going to meet your sales goals. That is why that's the first step, and it's actually so important. The next step is once someone is in your community, you then want to nurture and warm them up. Nowadays, people take more time to decide whether or not they want to buy from you or from a brand or from a business. And that's just because there's a lot of businesses out there nowadays, and I also feel like people have been burned by shitty products or shitty service providers. So it does take a little bit more time to warm and nurture people up nowadays, but that's fine. You just need to know about that and plan for it. After that, you then are going to convert them and make the sale. That's typically how an average customer journey goes. With this sales funnel / sales journey, it can vary as to how long it takes. Some people, they may need to and ha about whether or not they're going to buy something or invest in something for a few weeks or maybe even a couple months. But for other people, they can make a split-second decision. Of course, it also depends on what you're selling and how much it is. On some level, every single customer needs to go through this. You need to first find out about this brand or about this business, and then you need to know that they are credible, trustworthy. and then you make the sale and you put down your credit card. That's the typical customer journey. And understanding this then allows you to plan for your sales and be more in control and analyze what's going on. Because if you're not making sales, then is it that you don't have enough traffic? Is it that you're not warming people up enough? Is it that your conversion is a little bit too confusing? You can see where the gaps are and fill those gaps. So in Yulin's case, because she wants to build her bridal makeup service, how she is going to get traffic is through focusing on two things first and foremost. SEO for her website and try to rank for search terms that brides-to-be would be searching for, such as wedding, bride, makeup artist, bridal makeup, all those things. Because those search terms are likely quite popular, I recommended she niche down as well. She's currently based in London, so I was saying that she could do London-specific search terms, so like London makeup artist for brides, bridal makeup artist, London. And then the other thing she should be leveraging is collaborations and partnerships. In the wedding industry, there are so many different service providers that a bride-to-be would be interacting with, such as a wedding planner, a wedding coordinator, photographer, videographer, caterer. The list goes on and on. It's a great industry to break into because you can start to meet photographers, videographers, wedding planners, wedding coordinators, and build up a relationship with them and refer business to each other. That's a great way to get started if you're first starting out and trying to break into an industry. The benefit is that it's free. You don't have to do paid ads. There are other traffic strategies, but I recommended those two main ones to her because she's starting out. If you want to hear more, I go more in depth in my sales podcast episode, which I will link down below. For nurturing, this needs to be a little bit more hands-on. With your traffic, once you set up your SEO, you can have it basically running in the background, giving you clicks and hits. With your collaborations and partnerships, it does take work to set up, but once it's set up, you'll continue to refer business to each other. With nurturing, once they're in your community, that is a little bit more manual. And for Yulin and for someone that's just starting out, I recommend that you mainly nurture through your content. Showing up on stories, posting things like what you're all about, giving free value, building credibility, showing behind the scenes. That's so important. We talked a little bit about Yulin's content strategy next, so I will leave the marketing part until later. That's nurturing. Remember that the nurturing process nowadays does take longer. It just takes longer, so plan for that. Next, you have conversion. Conversion is something that I wish I was a little bit more strategic around. So when I was first starting, a lot of people would be like, oh, you should do sales calls because that's a great way to convert people. And yes, while you can convert on sales calls because you can answer questions, you are limited to how much you can potentially make, because if people can only book and sign up and pay after they do a call from you, your income is limited to how many calls you can do. And you don't want anything that could limit your income, because one day you could get sick, or you could want to go on vacation or go on holiday. That's when income inconsistency kicks in. So it's not to say not to do sales calls. It's just to say that you need to have other mechanisms where your customers can check out. I recommended to Yulin that she have a really good sales page on her website with a form where people could reach out and do an inquiry. And then if needed, people could book a sales call if they wanted to find out more information. But if you have a really, really good sales page with all the information on there already, and you proactively and preemptively try to address anything, that can really help with your conversion rates. That is her sales funnel and her sustainable sales system that can be working in the background. Like I said, I do go more in depth in my sales podcast episode, so I will link it and you can check it out. But after talking about her product and also talking about her sales, we then wanted to talk about marketing. Content is something that I find a lot of people that normally, if they don't do content, something that they struggle with. Because first of all, there's a lot of mindset issues and things that come up. I really recommend Brianna Weiss's book, The Mountain Is You. I will link it down below. It's really helpful to get over any limiting beliefs and self-sabotaging behaviors. But another thing people tend to be uncomfortable about is being the face of their brand, especially if they aren't a super public person to begin with. It's not to say you have to be the face of your brand, but I do think it's a missed opportunity because you can really connect quite deeply with your customers And people also want to anchor into a founder. And I also think it helps give your brand and your business a lot more personality. People love seeing the behind the scenes and they love being able to support a person versus if it was a faceless brand, it just feels like it's a random business. The money that you give to support this business kind of just goes into the abyss. It is not something you have to do, but I do think it's a missed opportunity if you don't do it. Nowadays, there's more and more founder-facing brands that have made their brand super successful, and so I just think it's table stakes. Continuously work on your mindset when it comes to your content. I find with marketing and content, people tend to have a very transactional relationship. They will think, okay, because I am making this podcast episode, or because I am spending all this time doing this YouTube video, or because I am making this Instagram post, I need to get something back in the form of sales. And yes, while that can happen, you also can't control what other people do. And so instead of trying to view creating marketing and content in such a transactional way where you feel like you need to get something out of it, have a deeper why and purpose as to why you're doing content. It could be 2 goals. The first one could be you just want to become a better marketer, a better content creator, a better storyteller. That's definitely the case for me. Like, I'm definitely trying to become a better storyteller, a better videographer, a better editor, like all those things. And I try to enjoy the process and the art of getting better and not just trying to get something out of all the content I'm making. The second goal is something that might resonate more deeply. This can look different for everyone, but you can think about why you're starting this business, who you're trying to help, how you can support them, and try to act in a manner where you're trying to be of service to other people and help other people. That's why you're building this brand. That's why you're creating this community. That's why you're putting out content instead of drilling down into like, I want to make sales from this. Because again, you can't control what other people do, and then it can start to get depressing if the algorithm changes and all that stuff. You want to be really mindful of how you approach content. And there's going to be days where you feel down about your content. It happens to me, it happens to everyone. But the important part is you pick yourself back up again and you come back to these 2 reasons why you're doing content, which is A, to better yourself, become a better marketer, storyteller, content creator. Secondly, whatever your deep purpose or why is. For me personally, I am creating content that I wish existed back when I was first starting my business. I wish someone told me that you can do it sustainably and you can do it in a way where it aligns with your capacity and you can have a life first business. Take some time to think about what that is for you. We discussed what it was for Yulin. When it comes to your content, if you're just starting out, you will have limited time, limited resources, limited energy, and limited budget. As a result of that, I do not want you to be on every platform under the sun. I think a rookie mistake people make is they think that if they're in more places, that means they will be more discovered and that will equate to more sales. Actually, the reverse is true, because if you have limited time, budget, and resources and energy, and you are spread across all these different platforms like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Substack, and your email newsletter, then you're going to spend your entire week doing content, and or you are going to be putting out content that's not very high quality and you likely won't be proud of. Nowadays, there's so many different content creators and content on all these different platforms. So in order to stand out and in order for someone to follow and subscribe to you, you do need to have high quality content. And high quality content doesn't mean that it needs to be produced in 4K footage or whatever. It just needs to have substance and it give value to your ideal customer and be something that you're proud of. But creating content like that does take time. It takes energy and it takes resources. That's why I don't want you to spread yourself too thin. Instead, I'd rather you, quote unquote, put your eggs in a couple of baskets, do them really, really well, and grow, scale up your community. They will support you. You will get more sales. And then in turn, at that time, maybe you can hire a marketing intern or someone to help you and you can expand into more platforms. To begin with, I always recommend 3 different platforms. The first one is going to be some sort of high traffic platform. For me, that's YouTube, but that could be a blog for you. So whatever that looks like for you. And then I recommend a community-based platform that is essentially a platform where your audience can talk back to you in the form of comments or DMs so that you can stay close to them. It can look like either Instagram or TikTok or LinkedIn. I also recommend some sort of email marketing platform. You can do your community platform and an email marketing platform as you get really, really good and comfortable with your community platform and with your email marketing. You can then go and add in a high traffic platform. But if you've been on Instagram and or TikTok TikTok and you do emails regularly and you feel like you've got it down pat, then you can, of course, start to expand into a YouTube or a podcast. With selecting your community marketing platform, you want to put yourself into the shoes of your ideal customer. Think about where they are, because you don't want to choose a platform and invest all this time, resources, and energy into creating content on a place that they're not even there and they're not seeing it, because that's just a waste of time and a waste of resources, obviously. So be really strategic around which platform you're choosing. Once you have chosen your platform and your email marketing, you then want to be strategic around the content you're posting. I think a lot of people, when they're starting out, they're like, okay, I don't know what platform I should be on, and I also don't know what I should be posting. In order to decide what platform you should be on, I can't tell you. You have to really think about your ideal customer, and you can talk to them and do surveys or just even chat with them in the DMs to see what they're on all the time. But in terms of your content, I want you to think about what's going to give value to your ideal customer. A lot of the times with service providers, especially in the branding space or the website space, or even in Yulin's case, the makeup artist space, people end up posting about their portfolio. So if you're a branding expert, you'll show brands that you have rebranded. While that's really cool to see, every other branding expert is doing that. Same thing if you are a website designer. Every other website designer out there is just showcasing the before and afters of the web pages they have designed. Same thing with Yulin. Everyone that is a makeup artist is just posting all these different looks they've done. It's not to say you shouldn't post your portfolio photos or portfolio videos, but that's what everyone does. So if you want to stand out and be different, we have to go above and beyond a little bit and be a little bit more creative. So what I told Yulin is typically people have between 3 to 5 content pillars, and I do go more in depth in this in my marketing podcast episode. So I will link that down below as well in case that's helpful. Having these content pillars can really help you shorten the time frame and the decision making required when you're like, okay, what should I post? I always do recommend having one that is some sort of educational or free value related pillar. So in Yulin's case, she could post tutorials, she could post recreations of looks, that kind of stuff to really establish her credibility and expertise. Another example I always recommend people do as well is behind the scenes type of content. And upon first glance, you might think like, okay, if I do a day in the life, or if I showcase I'm going to Pilates in my story, does that actually make a difference? Is that actually going to make me sales? The answer is yes, because when someone is investing and working with a service provider, especially if it's a founder-facing brand, they like to get to know who they are. People tend to buy from people that are similar to them or have similar hobbies to them, or they feel like they can connect on some level beyond just work. I think that we tend to attract people to our community that are like-minded and similar to us by showing them your personality and who you are. That just allows people to build a deeper connection with you and understand who you are. And that also builds trust, and that also builds, in a sense, credibility as well, because they know who you are as a person. So all this to say, I was telling Yulin she could do behind the scenes vlogs when she goes on shoots. She could also do behind the scenes of people's weddings if she has permission to be able to give other brides inspo. There's all these different things she can do, but you don't want to overwhelm yourself. And so just start with 2 to 3 pillars for now, and then you can go from there. Have a think about what would work for you. Again, you can check out my marketing podcast episode if you want to go a little bit deeper as well. Those were high level, the items I was talking through with Yulin, and it is a lot. I don't expect you to finish this video and be like, okay, I'm going to go off and do this all now. That's not really the expectation. It's just to set aside some time to start to think about all of this, because the reality is your products, your sales, and your marketing all work in tandem to be able to help build a self-sustaining and sustainable business. And you need to think about it all in tandem. I just gave you a really, really good overview. Again, I'm sorry that I couldn't play the actual video. The audio is just so bad and I didn't want to subject you to that. Actually, and then this is better because it's more succinct and I can summarize it for you. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. If you are watching this video and you're like, you know what, I just want you to tell me exactly what to do. I want your proven strategies, sustainable tactics, and all your plug and play resources, then check out Sustain Your Success. I will have it linked down below, but you can also visit selinaho.com/SYS. This is an accumulation of 5+ years of me tinkering around with my business and finally being able to figure out how to do it sustainably. And so again, there's a course on products, a course on sales, a course on marketing, and on launching. If you bundle and group them together inside the Sustain Your Success bundle, you get the best price and additional bonuses. I would recommend checking out the full bundle, and then if you go through it and you're like, you know what, I just want to start with a couple of the courses, there's the option to do that on the page as well. I finished the session with Yulin, and then we walked over to a Ligri Pilates class. I am excited to incorporate more of these behind-the-scenes types of videos. Let me know if you like this, and if you have any suggestions in the future as well. I am all ears.